Hi guys, it's Just Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. So today is officially the first day of Camp Week and Ween, which is a readathon that is hosted by Olivia Reads a Latte and Gabby Reads, two of my absolute favorite booktubers. I participated in Summer Ween earlier this year and I had a blast. And I think Camp Week and Ween is gonna be even more fun. I unfortunately woke up with a bit of a cold, however, I am gonna try to power through. So I will leave all of the prompts for Camp Week and Ween on the screen. And this is a shorter readathon, it's only 3 days. So I only have 2 full-length novels on my TBR, but then I also have 3 spooky graphic novels. So it should be a really fun time. All right guys, so jumping in to the TBR, the first book is The Troop by Nick Cutter, and this book essentially fulfills all of the prompts needed for Camp Week and Ween. It follows a group of Boy Scouts while they're out in the camping in the Canadian wilderness. This intruder stumbles upon their camp and then graphic violence apparently ensues. I'm not really sure. I've heard so many mixed reviews about this, saying that there's a lot of body horror and the imagery is just very, very creepy. I'm very excited to read this. I'm very interested to know what my opinions are gonna be because I don't normally gravitate towards very gross and disgusting imagery, but it's Halloween. Seems like a good time to read this. So anyway, like I said, this fulfills all of the prompts needed for Camp Week and Ween, so I will definitely be reading this. Now, if I finish The Troop early, I will be picking up Final Girls by Riley Sager. So I've read almost all of Riley. I think this is actually the last book I need to read to fulfill all of Riley Sager's backlist. I've been reading pretty much a Riley Sager book a month, and this one I think is actually his debut novel, so we'll see how I like it. But it follows a girl that she is the lone survivor of this massacre, and she is named by the media a Final Girl, which I think is also very popular in like horror movies and such. So she ends up becoming friends with other final girls, but then these final girls end up being murdered. So the main character has to figure out who is doing it and why they're targeting final girls. So I read Grady Hendrix's Final Girl book and I didn't love it. So hopefully I like this one a little bit more. And then moving on from there, I have 3 graphic novels. So the first one is not spooky or scary at all. It is purely autumnal, but it looks adorable, and that is Pumpkinheads. So I'm very excited to be reading this. I just think it's a really cute story, and like I said, The Troop is supposed to be horribly violent and very gross, and then Final Girls, I'm sure, is gonna have some slasher aspects, and this will just be like a nice cozy thing to give me a little bit of a break. So very pumped to be reading this. And then this book I saw on Amazon, and it just looks so cool. So my favorite horror movie ever is The Witch. I'll leave a picture of it on the screen. And this book, Witches, just really reminded me of it. And I already have like looked through a couple pages and the art style looks really cool. So I'm very, very excited to be reading this. I might actually end up reading this tonight. We'll see. And then last up is a graphic novel that I've been seeing a lot on BookTube, and that is Something is Killing the Children. So I think this actually follows a monster like slayer who's like a badass female from what I've gathered. So this should be a really fun time and I'm excited. But yeah, those are all the books I plan on reading and I will vlog as I finish them. This will be completely spoiler free, so don't worry about that. And yeah, so with that being said, I will check in with you guys after I've read a little bit. Guys, so it is about 7 o'clock on Friday, October 29th. I've read a decent amount of The Troop. I'm on chapter 12, and I can already tell this is something I would probably DNF if I wasn't doing this readathon. I do think I'm gonna end up liking it. It's just the imagery in this is disgusting. So my summary was pretty on point. It follows this group of kids, or I guess they're like teenagers, that are all in Boy Scouts, and they're going on this trip to the Canadian mountains or the Canadian wilderness, and they're all kind of in that limbo between like teenagers and kids, and we get to explore all of the different boys' personalities. And then when they get to their campsite, the Boy Scout leader, who's named Tim, ends up finding a man who is very thin, very gaunt, and is just starving. And right away they realize that this guy has some sort of disease, and I guess it's gonna go from there. Like I said, I'm gonna keep this very spoiler free. All of this happens at the very beginning of the book. Like I said, I'm only on chapter 12. But the imagery is just so gross. There's this one scene where this boy is like ripping apart a fish, and he's talking about like eyeballs being exploding. I don't know. It's a very, very gory. It reminds me a little bit of Grady Hendrix writing. Horrorstör was one of the first books I read by Grady Hendrix, and he also just has really disgusting imagery, and I think Nick Cutter is going to be very similar. But I am interested in what's going on. I do want to know what happens. So obviously I will be finishing this, but it's gross. It's a really gross book. And I think it is going to end up being very violent. I already have an idea of how some things are going to, I think, unfold. I believe, I'm just going to make a guess here. I'm not going to tell you if I'm right or wrong, that there's some sort of like tapeworm or some sort of parasite that's going to infect the kids, and it's going to go from there. But I don't know. So anyway, that's where I am in The Troop by Nick Cutter. I totally forgot our basement. I said this in another video, but our basement ended up flooding, and the people who are going to be installing our new drywall are here this whole weekend. So if you hear banging and hammers and stuff, that is what is going on. My house is currently a construction site. But anyway, my husband and I have, over the last week, we've been watching horror movies. I love horror movies. They're one of my favorites, horrors and thrillers. My husband is a huge wimp. He hates watching them. However, we recently discovered he really enjoys watching classic horror movies. So currently what we're doing is we're watching classic horror movies and then watching the newer, I want to say remaster, but that is not the right word. We're watching the new versions that are coming out. So we watched the original Halloween, which I can't believe I waited this long to watch it because it was so good. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. But we just watched the new one that was also titled Halloween. It was okay. We watched the original Friday the 13th and the new one, which was horrible. So now I think we're either gonna watch the Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, or Candyman, the original, and then watch those two. So those are the plans, and then after that, I'm hoping to get a little bit more reading done. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys. Hopefully after I finish The Troop. I have a feeling I'm gonna finish it by tomorrow. So I'll check in with you guys then. All right, guys, it is officially Camp Week-N-Ween, day 2, and I stayed up way too late last night finishing The Troop by Nick Cutter. So here's the deal. I was gonna post at like 8:30 this morning and give you guys an update. It's now like 11:30, 12 in the afternoon. I could not wrap my head around how I feel about this book. It is probably the most graphic, disgusting, uncomfortable horror book I've ever read, and I don't know if I enjoyed it or not. So I flew through this. I needed to know what was happening or what was gonna happen, but also I was just disgusted the entire time I was reading this. So when I went into this book, I thought this was gonna be more of like a Friday the 13th type vibe where it's this masked man that goes and is just attacking a bunch of boys. And that is not at all. This is more, like I said, completely spoiler free. I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but this is more of like a virus. It's something that's hitting very close to home right now. And it's just so uncomfortable to read. Also, you get to find out a little bit about the boys. I said this earlier, different personalities. and one of these boys is just a complete psychopath, and there's big trigger warning for animal abuse. I hate reading about animals being hurt. It happens fairly often in one of the chapters in this, and like there's a decent amount of it. So honestly, if I wasn't reading this for Camp Week and Ween, I probably would have DNF'd it. I am happy I finished it, and the ending of this book leaves a lot open. I don't know how I feel about it. It was good. I wish I could just like take parts of it out of my brain and never think about them again. But I think Nick Cutter is an amazing writer. Like, I could visualize everything happening in this book so well, probably too well. So that is my feeling. I recommend this to horror lovers. However, if you are a wimp like me, maybe pass it by. It was intense, but perfect for like the spooky season. So then this morning I jumped into Final Girls by Riley Sager. I think I'm on chapter 10 or 11 of this. I'm also listening to this in the audiobook like while I was getting dressed today. And I don't know if I like it. So it's following a final girl. It's following Quincy, and all of her friends she went camping with a bunch of friends and they were all murdered. She's the lone survivor. So the media dubs her a final girl. And she's kind of just dealing with all of this notoriety. So she seems to be addicted to antidepressants. She's drinking a lot, but she's trying to put on this like really brave front. And she is in contact with 2 other final girls. And then it turns out that one of those final girls is killed. So Quincy and another final girl end up meeting up, and that's pretty much where I'm at. The only thing, so I said I'm not crazy about this. I do enjoy it. It is a little bit slow for a Riley Sager book. My biggest issue is I'm pretty sure I already guessed like the big twist and like who the perpetrator really is. And if that's the case, I'm gonna be super bummed because Riley Sager writes the best twists. I love his books. They're never predictable, and I feel like this one might be. So we'll see how I feel. But honestly, right now, I need a break from all of the violence, especially after The Troop. I'm gonna be having nightmares for weeks after reading The Troop. Like, oh gosh, okay. So I think I'm gonna pick up Pumpkinheads just so I can get some like happy autumnal vibes and kind of get out of this like funk I'm feeling. And yeah, so hopefully I'll end up enjoying this. Then I'm gonna try to finish Final Girls, and then I have 2 other graphic novels I still have to hit up. So I will check in with you guys after I've read a little bit more. But yeah, so we'll see how this goes. I'm really kind of in the mood. I know I just said I want to get like out of the whole like Troop feelings, but while I was reading The Troop, it kind of made me think of Cabin Fever, and I haven't seen that movie in a while, and now I kind of want to watch it. So I might be doing that tonight. But yeah, I will check in with you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, it is a little bit later on Saturday. I did not plan on filming in the same location in my office. However, they are still working on our downstairs, and every other room I've tried to film in, it's just really loud and you can hear banging and saws. So sorry about that, but I did finish Pumpkinheads, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. It was so cute. It's following Josiah and Deja, and they've been working in this pumpkin patch for the last 4 years while they've been in high school, and now they're about to get off to go off to college. And this is their last year. So Josie has a crush on a girl, and Deja is trying to push him. And there's a quote that I have to find. I'll put it on the screen somewhere. But it's like, you want your friends to live the best lives possible. And it was such a cute story. And I really, really needed it after reading The Troop and some of Final Girls. I am almost done Final Girls. I hadn't planned on reading that much of it today, but I think I'm on page like 130, 135. And it's pretty much going exactly where I thought it was gonna go. So there is one thing I'm not sure about, but we find out that the final girl that came to meet with Quinn after the death of the other final girl, we're starting to suspect there might be something up with her. She's not exactly who she appears. And then also Quinn is kind of spiraling. I don't want to give any like spoilers, but she's making some interesting decisions, and like that was something I wasn't expecting. So that's probably why I actually ended up getting through this a little bit faster, just because I want to know what's going on with Quinn. But overall, I'm still kind of like lukewarm on how I feel about this book, but we'll see. I'm still gonna finish it. I'm not gonna finish it tonight. I do want to watch some horror movies, and I also want to read Witches because I've had my eye on that for a while. So gonna read that, gonna watch some horror movies, eat some like spooky snacks and stuff like that, and then I'll check in with you guys a little bit later. Alright guys, it is officially Camp Weekend Day 3, also known as Halloween. I can't believe spooky season is already almost over. I feel like it goes by so fast, but I am so happy I participated in this readathon. I had such a good time. I'm gonna make this wrap up kind of quick just because my dad is on his way over he's bringing a machine that's supposed to make breaking leaves easier. We just bought this house and it had a little bit more property than I was expecting, and there are just leaves everywhere. So I want to clean them up before the trick-or-treaters arrive and we put up like our decorations and everything. But anyway, I finished Final Girls by Riley Sager. I didn't love it. The twist ended up being exactly what I expected. There were a couple like side twists that I thought were kind of cool, but as far as Riley Sager books go, I just didn't love it. It wasn't one of my favorites. I feel like the pacing was really slow. It took me a while to get into the story, and then the ending just felt like it was kind of out of left field. Although I did guess the ending, I don't know. It's definitely my least favorite of all of his books. It was still decent though. Like I think if you like horror thrillers, I would still give this one a shot. Like I said, Riley Sager is one of my absolute favorite horror thriller authors. I think he just writes amazing twists, amazing stories that are very, very just like gripping and like edge of your seat. This just wasn't it for me. But overall, it was all right. I also read Witches, the graphic novel, which I'll leave the cover on the screen. And oh my gosh, I love this graphic novel so much. So it's great. It's slower paced, but I think it's worth it. So it follows this girl, and in the beginning of the story, I'm gonna keep this so spoiler free, so it's gonna be a little bit hard to explain. But we're following this girl, and she just moved to a new town, and we're kind of getting her and her father's relationship dynamic, which is very cute. Like I really love this whole family. And we don't exactly know why they're moving, and she's very worried the people in her new school are gonna like know what happened to her. And then it kind of goes from there. We find out more about her past and how it relates to the witches. And it's really cool. And the beginning of this series hooks you like right off the bat. The first few pages are like set back, I think in like the 1800s, and then we jump to present day in the future. But oh my gosh, if you want like a spooky, scary graphic novel, that is it for you, Witches. It was so good. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have time to read Something is Killing the Children. I just have a lot planned for today, and it's Halloween, and I really just want to enjoy it. But if I do have time, I will read that, and I'll definitely talk about it in my October wrap-up. If you can still hear it in my voice, I still am a little sick, so I was gonna film that today or tomorrow. I probably won't film that until later in the week, but that should be up by, I don't know, October 10th at the latest. Or I'm sorry, November 10th at the latest. Gosh, okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.